Snow crashes through the night like shattered glass. On an abandoned park bench, a 5-year-old boy sits alone, coat soaked, lips blue, clutching his chest with every painful breath. The world has forgotten him. But one German shepherd, Ranger, has not. From the darkness steps Deputy Lucas Ward, eyes blazing with instinct, planting himself between the boy and the unseen threat closing in. Silver Creek, Colorado, sits in a narrow valley at the edge of the Rockies. In February, the town is hard-packed and loud with cold. Deputy Lucas Ward drives the late shift. He is 34, 5 feet 11 inches, thick through the shoulders. His face is angular, jaw set, 2 lines between his eyebrows that never quite fade. 2 years ago, his son died from a heart defect. Since then, he moves because stopping invites memory. Ranger rides in the passenger seat. He is a 6-year-old German shepherd, big-chested with a black saddle and sable legs. There is a pale scar behind his right shoulder from a winter rescue that went bad. With Lucas, he works steady, quiet commands, predictable routines. He watches more than he barks. At 12:41 a.m., they pass the town green. Ranger lifts his head and sets his ears forward. Lucas follows the stare and sees a small shape on the bench. Too small, too still. He breaks. A child hunches there with his arms wrapped around his chest. No hat, thin coat. His breath comes fast and shallow. Lucas kills the engine and steps into the cold. He grabs a foil blanket from the rear. The boy looks 5 at most. Brown hair is stuck to his forehead. His cheeks are chapped and shiny with cold. He clutches a stuffed bear rubbed almost bald. Lucas crouches. Ranger sits close to Lucas's leg, chest forward, head low. "Hey buddy," Lucas says. "I'm Lucas. This is Ranger. We're here to help." The boy's eyes open to thin slits. Lucas slides the blanket around his shoulders. Ranger leans and rests his muzzle against the boy's knee. The boy's mouth shapes a word. "It hurts." "Your chest?" Lucas asks. The boy nods once and coughs. "It's deep and wet and wrong. We're going to the hospital," Lucas says. He gets an arm behind the boy's shoulders. The weight is startling, more blanket and air than child. The boy's mouth moves near Lucas's ear. The whisper is thin. "Water hurt." Lucas doesn't ask what that means. He moves fast to the cruiser. Ranger stays tight on his left. Lucas lays the boy across the rear seat. The dog settles along the footwell, watching the boy. The radio cracks. "Unit 12 status 12, Lucas says, flipping the siren on. "Child, male, about 5, found on the green. Hypothermic, labored respirations, chest pain with breathing. En route to Silver Creek Medical." The heater finally pushes warm air. In the mirror, the boy's lips are pale. Lucas keeps his voice steady. "What's your name?" The boy works his mouth. The word comes soft. "Noah." "Noah," Lucas repeats. "Stay with us. We're almost there." The hospital sits at the bottom of the hill. Lucas breaks in the slush and kills the siren. He's at the rear door before the car rocks to a stop. Inside, heat and disinfectant. A nurse steps forward. "How long outside?" she asks, hand already on the boy's forehead. "Unknown," Lucas says. "Found on the green. Name is Noah. Pain with breathing. Looks like hypothermia." The doors swing and the gurney disappears down the hall. Ranger sits at the line where a decal on the floor asks visitors to wait. Lucas clips his radio. "Dispatch 12. Run any recent EMS calls for pediatric respiratory distress. Name Noah, unknown last name. Also flag complaints about the municipal water." Through the opening, he sees Dr. Patel step in. Mid-30s, slim, scrubs neat. The nurse tucks a warm blanket around the feet. The bear's face peeks out, Ranger shifts so his shoulder touches Lucas's leg. Somewhere down the hall, Noah coughs again. Lucas could leave the rest to the nurse, the doctor, and the case worker on the way. He doesn't. He stands in the vestibule and waits. The facts are simple. A 5-year-old on a freezing bench, chest pain with breathing, a whisper about water, no guardian in sight. The town's creek runs under ice and looks normal. Sometimes normal is the last thing you see before it isn't. We'll wait, he tells Ranger. Outside, the wind moves snow across the empty parking lot. Inside, the hallway lights hold steady. Dr. Patel approached. He's stable for now. Name's Noah, around 5. Body temperature was dangerously low. We're warming him gradually. Lungs are tight, but not collapsed. He paused. He's fighting for breath. That kind of labored inhalation doesn't just happen from cold. He said water hurt. Do you know who he's been with? I found him alone, Lucas replied. No adults, no vehicle. Dr. Patel nodded. We'll need lab work. From what I'm seeing, this isn't a one-time event. His body shows signs of prolonged stress, likely environmental. The boy's been exposed to something more than cold air. A woman approached with a clipboard. Her name badge read Miriam Clark, Child Protective Services. I understand you brought in an unidentified minor. Do you have any indication where the guardian might be? No, Lucas replied. But I'm not walking away. Not until he's safe. That isn't your choice to make, Deputy. My priority is determining immediate custody. The ER doors opened. Deputy Ward, the boy's asking for you. Inside the triage room, Noah lay on a small bed layered with warm blankets. When he saw Lucas, something in his shoulders loosened. Hey, Noah, Lucas said quietly. You're safe. Do you remember anything? Noah blinked slowly, then nodded. Water hurts in my house. Mama drank it. Then she slept. She wouldn't wake up. Where is your house? Lucas asked. Noah pointed weakly upward. Near trees by the long fence where the river talks loud at night. Lucas had a mental image instantly, the fringe of Silver Creek's outskirts. Dr. Patel gently adjusted Noah's oxygen mask. Do you drink water from a tap at home? Noah nodded. Tears formed at the corners of his eyes. A man came. He told Mama she was lying. He said we had to stop talking to people. He had a black car. Suddenly, Noah's eyes lifted toward the doorway. Ranger had entered silently. Noah's fingers reached down toward him. Ranger inched forward, pressing his head gently against the bed frame. The dog seems to be lowering his heart rate, Dr. Patel said. Ms. Clark paused. We can't have an unsecured law enforcement animal in a pediatric unit. He's certified for trauma stabilization, Lucas said. He stays. Noah's hand dropped onto Ranger's fur. His voice was faint. I don't want to go back there. Lucas crouched beside him. You're not going anywhere tonight. Sleep. I'll be here when you wake up. Lucas stepped into the hallway with Dr. Patel and Ms. Clark. Deputy, his blood work is already showing elevated lead and arsenic levels. This child has been ingesting contaminated water over time. Lucas straightened. From where? From the municipal supply or an unregulated private well. Either way, this is not an isolated case. Ms. Clark's eyes narrowed. If environmental neglect is involved, Child Protective Services will intervene. Lucas nodded. Then we start tonight. A man in a worn brown coat jogged toward them. He was in his 50s, lean with hollow cheeks. His name was Raymond Coulter, a local trapper. I heard you brought a kid in. One near Pine Run. You need to listen. That water, what they've been dumping, it ain't right. People have been getting sick. Kids, animals. Lucas studied the man's face. You sure? Coulter looked him dead in the eye. Deputy, I live 20 yards off that creek. My well turned sour last month. Smelled like pennies and burned the skin. I told the county water board, they said it was runoff. Dr. Patel exchanged a look with Lucas. If this is true, we need to test broader sources immediately. Coulter nodded. What happened to that boy? It's not the first time. And it won't be the last unless someone does something. Lucas felt the weight settle across his shoulders. All right. We start in the morning. He looked toward the closed door where Noah lay. But tonight we protect him. Deputy Lucas Ward eased the cruiser off the main highway as the first dull light of morning began to bleed across the snow-capped ridges. Ranger sat alert in the passenger seat. According to county records, this was the direction of home. As Lucas turned the final bend, a cluster of aging trailers appeared between the trees. Most were patched with mismatched siding. A rusted water tower stood crookedly at the edge. No smoke came from the chimneys here. No movement, no sound. Lucas parked near a faded blue trailer marked with number 9. Ranger immediately stood, nose twitching, hackles faintly lifting. Lucas clipped the leash and approached carefully. The air here held a faint metallic tang that he knocked once. The door creaked open without resistance. Inside, the temperature felt colder than the air outside. The small living space was neat but worn. A calendar hung crookedly above a table. The last date marked was 3 days ago. The word "clinic" had been written there in shaky handwriting. Lucas scanned the room. No sign of a struggle, just quiet abandonment. Ranger moved ahead, sniffing intently. He paused near a bedroom door and whined softly. Lucas opened it. A twin bed sat against the far wall. A crayon drawing was taped above the bed. A house with a crooked roof. A stick figure boy holding hands with a taller figure. Above them, heavy lines of blue crayon rained down. A red X dripped beneath the roof. This wasn't just poverty. This was fear. A noise made Ranger snap his head toward the window. Raymond Coulter stood near the old water tower. Lucas stepped out. You found the boy's place? Coulter said. She didn't leave by choice. You know the mother? Coulter nodded. Name was Sadie Bennett. Knew the water was poison. Tried to get someone to listen. When did you last see her? 3 nights ago. She said she had proof, papers, numbers, names. Said she was going to take it to the board. He looked away. Next morning, she was gone. Lucas's eyes narrowed. Any vehicles in or out? Black SUV, no plates, windows tinted. It came after midnight, left before dawn. Ranger gave a deep low growl. Coulter stepped closer. This ain't just about that boy, Deputy. They're hoping nobody notices until it's too late. Do you know where she took the proof? Coulter motioned toward the treeline. She hid it. Said if anything happened, the truth would still be found. Lucas followed him to a collapsed shed. Ranger pushed ahead, pawing at the ground. Lucas knelt and brushed aside loose snow. Beneath it was a metal lunchbox. When he opened it, a stack of papers sat inside. Lab reports, letters, handwritten notes. Levels exceed federal safety limits. Children experiencing tremors. Lucas closed the box. This might be enough. Enough to do what? Coulter asked. To keep that boy alive and to make sure no one else ends up on a bench in the snow. Lucas drove back into town with the metal lunchbox on the passenger side floorboard. Ranger sat completely still beside it. The morning light had strengthened. Lucas pulled into the hospital parking lot. Inside, the hospital halls were quieter. Noah had been moved to a pediatric recovery room. The boy was propped up slightly in bed. His breathing was more even now. "You came back," Noah said. "I told you I would," Lucas replied. The door opened. Miriam Clark entered. She nodded to Lucas, then addressed Noah. "Noah, my name is Miriam. I work with Child Protective Services. Do you know if your mother left you with anyone?" Noah shook his head slowly. "She didn't leave. She got sick from the water. Then she couldn't wake up." "Has anyone else lived with you recently?" Noah hesitated. "A man came. He told Mama she was lying. He said we had to stop talking to people. He had a black car." "Miriam," Lucas said sharply, "that's enough for now. I understand your position, Deputy, but my priority is this child's placement and safety. Until we confirm otherwise, Noah is considered a ward of the state." Noah's breathing quickened. A knock sounded. Dr. Camille Rhodes entered. She was in her late 50s, tall and composed, silver-streaked hair pulled back. "Miss Clark, you will not remove this child from medical care prematurely. He is still in respiratory distress. I will follow medical recommendations, but once he is cleared, we'll cross that bridge when we get there." Dr. Rhodes cut in. Lucas gave Dr. Rhodes a grateful nod. She motioned him out into the hallway. "I heard from Dr. Patel about the blood work. If that paperwork you found contains what I suspect, we're looking at a serious environmental breach. This is not just negligence, Deputy. It's a public health crisis. I'll get the documents in front of the right authorities. You'll have it before noon. And Lucas, be careful. If this goes as far as I think, there will be pushback." The hospital's front doors opened. A man in a charcoal suit stepped inside. He was in his late 40s, tall and impeccably groomed, with dark hair combed back. His eyes, the steely gray of cold river stone, gave nothing away. "Deputy Ward," the man said, approaching with a slow smile. "I'm Nathaniel Crane, legal counsel for Silverpure Industries. I understand you've encountered one of our residents." Lucas's gaze didn't waver. "Silverpure owns the water treatment facility. They don't own Pine Hollow." Crane gave a soft chuckle. "Deputy, Silverpure owns the land, leases the lots, and provides all municipal services to that area, including the water line you're now implying is harmful. That's a serious accusation." A silence stretched. Crane stepped closer. "We've already sent our medical team to offer assistance. We're prepared to cover all expenses for this child. The boy isn't a PR problem to manage," Lucas said. Crane's smile thinned. "Everything is a PR problem when it threatens community trust. I sincerely hope any conclusions you're drawing are based on fact, not misplaced emotion. Sometimes families suffer due to poor maintenance of private wells." He stepped back smoothly. "Our office will formally request access to any materials you've collected. For now, I trust you will use discretion." Crane walked toward the exit. Lucas remained silent. Dr. Rhodes looked at him. "We need evidence." "We have it," he replied. He left the hospital and returned to the cruiser. He drove toward the county records office. The sun was higher now, glinting off the snow. Lucas pulled onto the main road. Ranger lifted his head and made a low, rumbling sound. Lucas glanced into the mirror. A black SUV had appeared 2 cars behind him. It had no license plates. Lucas kept his eyes forward, checking the mirror only when necessary. The black SUV kept its distance. Ranger had not taken his gaze off it. Lucas turned off Main Street and drove toward the County Public Records building. As soon as he signaled, the SUV slowed and continued straight. Lucas parked and entered the building. At the main desk sat Gordon Gordy Hensley, county clerk. "Morning, Deputy." Lucas placed the lunchbox on the counter. "I need you to log and certify these documents quietly." They relate to potential contamination of municipal and private water lines. Gordy's expression sobered. He began registering evidence. You understand what this means? Lucas nodded. Gordy signed the last line. This lab report, these numbers are off the charts. This isn't a broken filtration system, Lucas. This is industrial runoff. The door opened. A woman stepped in. She wore dark jeans, worn boots, and a thick forest green parka. Her hair was deep auburn, pulled loosely into a braid. Her eyes were hazel, sharp, perceptive. Elena Vega, investigative journalist. Deputy Ward, she said. Word travels when a patrol car drives into Pine Hollow at dawn. She gave a tight smile. And when a black SUV drives out. Gordy finished stamping the last document. Filed under sealed provisional status. Elena leaned forward. I can help you, Deputy, but if what's in that box is what I think it is, this won't stay sealed long. I don't deal in speculation. I deal in evidence. And when you're ready to make it public, you'll need someone who knows where to point the light. Ranger growled. Lucas turned. The black SUV was back, parked across the street. Someone was inside, engine idling, watching. Elena's eyes moved to the window. They won't wait long. I'm counting on that, Lucas said. He left the records office and drove toward the old Pine Run Creek. The road narrowed, then ended. Lucas stepped out. Beneath them, the creek wound through a channel of ice and stone. Small eddies of warmer discharge had melted through the ice. Snow around those pools had melted back. Nothing grew near them. Ranger sniffed and whined. Lucas crouched and dipped a gloved fingerdip into the water. Even through the barrier of material, a faint tingling stung his skin. The air carried a metallic tang. Footsteps crunched behind him. Elena stood 6 feet back. You knew I'd follow. I figured you'd arrive with or without an invitation. She crouched beside him. I've been tracking this for months. Reports of livestock dying, kids with unexplained nosebleeds. No one listened. Sadie Bennett listened, Lucas said quietly. And she's gone. Elena looked at him. For a moment, something flickered in her expression. Ranger barked sharply and spun, facing the treeline. A branch snapped. 2 figures appeared between the trees. They wore dark jackets, black gloves. Their posture was unmistakable. Lucas stood. Ranger moved 1 step forward, for lifting along his spine. The taller figure stepped into view. Mid-40s, lean, narrow eyes. Deputy Ward, he called. Step away from the creek. Identify yourself. The man smiled faintly. Not important. What's important is that you understand this situation doesn't concern local law enforcement. You're trespassing on property under federal review. This creek runs through public land, Lucas said. It won't matter. Because by tomorrow morning, this water will be under new jurisdiction. You can either walk away quietly or be written into the report as an obstruction. Elena lifted her camera, but the second man took a step forward. Put it down. Lucas raised a hand slightly. He studied the men. Ranger growled, ready to lunge. You can threaten me. But you won't threaten a child. And you won't bury this. The lead man's expression didn't change. Then you are choosing conflict. Lucas didn't answer. Ranger took 1 deliberate step forward and bared his teeth. The taller man exhaled. We'll be in touch, he said, motioning to his counterpart. The 2 men retreated into the trees. Elena lowered her camera. That wasn't a threat. That was a promise. Lucas looked down at the creek. Then we get ready. Lucas drove back toward Silver Creek Hospital. Outside, the sky had turned a flat silvery gray. As he pulled into the hospital lot, he noticed something wrong. A silver sedan was parked crookedly in the emergency roundabout. The driver's door remained shut, but the engine idled. "No visible driver," Ranger growled. Lucas stepped out cautiously and approached. He peered into the vehicle, empty. On the passenger seat was a cell phone, screen lit with a single text message. "Stay silent or the boy disappears like his mother." Lucas felt the back of his neck tighten. He took the phone as evidence and headed inside. At the reception desk stood Sheriff Mark Hargrove, Lucas's superior officer. At his side was Dr. Rhodes. Across from them stood Miriam Clark. She looked visibly unsettled. The sheriff spoke first. "Lucas, we have a situation. Noah's gone." Lucas's heartbeat kicked hard. "What do you mean gone?" "A nurse came in for rounds 15 minutes ago. The bed was empty. Security footage shows two men in maintenance uniforms entering his room. They wheeled him out in a laundry cart." "Where were they headed?" Dr. Rhodes answered. "Through the service exit. The cameras outside that wing were offline." Sheriff Hargrove locked eyes with Lucas. "We're locking down the hospital, but if those men got out before the alarm was raised, they're already gone." "They won't get far," Lucas said flatly. "Deputy, you need to approach this by the book. With respect, Sheriff. They just abducted a 5-year-old in medical distress. Whoever did this isn't worried about the law." Hargrove's jaw tightened. "I'm not here to hold you back. Make one wrong move and they will bury this entire case." Lucas turned on his heel. "Ranger, find his trail." The K-9 surged forward, pulling toward the service corridor. Ranger stopped at the exit, paws planted, head turned northwest. Lucas ran back toward his cruiser. Dr. Rhodes called after him. "Lucas, what are you going to do?" Lucas looked back briefly. "Bring him home." 10 minutes later, Lucas was following Ranger's nose along the snow-covered service road. Ranger's body moved with purpose. They reached a fork. Ranger stopped, sniffed deeply, then turned left toward the river. The road narrowed, descending into the tree-line. Then he heard something else, a muffled cry. It came from near the old maintenance shed. Lucas slowed. He signaled Ranger. "Wait." Around the curve, he saw it. A white van parked half-concealed under pine branches. Its rear doors hung slightly open. Lucas approached, weapon drawn. Inside, a laundry cart sat shoved against the wall, empty. Ranger growled low. Lucas looked to the right, tracks in the snow, fresh, booted, small. "Hang on, Noah," Lucas said and followed. The path opened onto a clearing beside the river. Standing at the edge, dragging a struggling Noah by the arm, was one of the maintenance men. Underneath he wore tactical gear. When he saw Lucas, he tightened his grip on Noah. "Stop there, deputy," the man said coolly. "This child is under protective custody. Step back." Lucas raised his weapon. "That boy needs medical care. You're endangering his life." The man tilted his head. "His life is of great interest to my employer. Yours, however, is irrelevant." Noah cried out softly, clutching his chest. Ranger snarled. Lucas took one step forward. "Let him go right now." The man responded by shifting his stance, guiding Noah closer to the edge of the icy water. "This creek will be sealed by tomorrow morning and buried by next week. You should decide carefully which side you want to be on." "You think poisoning kids is a business model?" Lucas said. "There won't be a corporate future after this." The man gave a cold smile. "You're assuming you'll live long enough to see it." Ranger lunged. In one clean, silent motion, the K-9 launched forward, jaws locking onto the man's forearm. The grip forced him to release Noah. The boy stumbled backward into Lucas's arms. Lucas pulled Noah close. The man struggled, raising his free hand, but he wasn't fast enough. Lucas struck with the butt of his weapon, dropping him to the snow. Lucas wrapped Noah in his coat, holding him against his chest. The boy trembled violently, but clutched Lucas's uniform. "I knew you'd come." Lucas held him tighter. "It's not over. But I won't let them take you again." The wind had begun to rise before Lucas reached the outskirts of Silver Creek. Sheriff Hargrove was waiting in the hospital bay when Lucas returned. The sheriff stepped forward and opened the rear passenger door, carefully lifting Noah into his arms. Lucas followed closely, holding the metal lunchbox. Ranger walked at his heel. Inside, the hospital had shifted. Security had been doubled. Dr. Rhodes stood ready at the pediatric room door. She met Lucas's eyes. "We'll keep him safe. They won't get through these doors again." Sheriff Hargrove turned to Lucas. "I've contacted the Colorado Bureau of Investigation. But if Silver Pure reaches them first, this whole case becomes buried. Then we need undeniable proof. We need evidence of active dumping." Elena Vega arrived, pushing through the double doors. "There's movement at the Silver Pure industrial site. Trucks coming in and out near Plant 4. Sheriff Hargrove exhaled. "They're destroying evidence." Lucas closed the lunchbox. "Then we stop them before they finish." The drive to the industrial zone was slow, visibility worsening as the storm built momentum. As they approached the Silver Pure facility, the forest thinned and the land opened to reveal a sprawling compound. Lucas killed the lights and stopped on a small service road. Elena appeared ahead. "They're using the storm to cover their tracks." The reservoir loomed ahead. 2 tanker trucks were backed up against the basin. One was actively pumping liquid into the water. Men in protective gear moved around them. Lucas lifted binoculars. "They're releasing unprocessed waste directly into the creek system." "We get this recorded," Elena said. "Video, audio, timestamp. No court can ignore it." Ranger suddenly let out a low, urgent whine. On the far side of the basin, a blast door opened in a hillside. From it, security personnel emerged in body armor with rifles. "What's in those crates?" Elena asked. Lucas watched the lead guard open one. "Explosives. They're going to collapse the basin into the river. When the flood washes through, it'll carry contaminated runoff straight across 5 counties. Then they'll claim infrastructure failure." Elena gripped the steering wheel. "That would displace hundreds of families and erase every trace of what they've done. Get the drone in the air. Record everything. Send it to 5 backup servers." Elena nodded and stepped out. Ranger moved beside her as she launched the drone. Lucas and Ranger advanced along the ridge. As they closed in, one of the guards turned, scanning the hillside with a thermal scope. Lucas dropped flat, pulling Ranger with him. Guards hoisted crates to the edge of the basin. A third man appeared. Nathaniel Crane, but not in a suit. Tonight, he wore a dark tactical coat. He spoke to the guards, voice clipped. "Once the detonators are set, we seal the control room and withdraw." Lucas raised his binoculars. Crane stood with absolute confidence. And in his eyes, Lucas saw no hesitation. Lucas lowered the binoculars and signaled Ranger forward. If they didn't act now, there would be no more creek, no more water, and no more town. Ranger moved ahead. Lucas followed, weapon raised. The last thing Lucas saw before the snow swallowed his vision was Nathaniel Crane turning toward the ridge. He had been seen. The storm broke at dawn with a stillness so sudden it felt unnatural. Snow lay across Silver Creek in unbroken sheets. For most townspeople, it was a quiet Sunday morning, unaware of how close their lives had come to being erased. Inside Silver Creek Medical Center, room 204 was warm with low golden light. Noah lay propped against pillows, cheeks flushed with returning color. Ranger lay curled at the side of the bed. Lucas stood at the window, watching the sun rise. The door opened. Elena stepped in. In her hand was a newspaper. Its headline in bold black print, Environmental Crimes Exposed. Silver Pure Executives Under Federal Investigation. Below it, a photo, Lucas standing beside the basin. The explosives had been discovered before detonation, and state authorities arrived within the hour. Nathaniel Crane had been taken into custody by U.S. Marshals before sunrise. Elena laid the paper on the bed table. It's official. They can't bury this anymore. What about the cleanup order? EPA is already on site. Federal teams arrived overnight. They're evacuating the area around Pine Run. Families will be relocated, compensated. Medical relief is being mobilized. She turned to Noah. Your mother's testimony is being honored. They found her alive. Noah's eyes brightened. Will she wake up? She will, Dr. Rhodes answered, stepping into the room. Her vitals are strong. She's responding to treatment. She asked for you. Noah's eyes filled with tears. She's okay. Sheriff Hargrove entered. Behind him walked a federal agent carrying documents. Deputy Ward, we've completed the emergency guardianship review. Given your actions and the absence of any other legal guardian able to assume immediate care, the state is granting you temporary custody of Noah Bennett until his mother fully recovers. Lucas glanced down at the bedside. Noah reached for Lucas's hand. Can I stay with you? The boy asked. Lucas knelt beside the bed. He placed his hand over Noah's. You already are. The hospital intercom crackled. Attention staff, the transfer team has arrived. Patient Bennett Sadie will be admitted shortly. Noah held tighter to Lucas's hand. She's okay, he whispered. Lucas nodded. She's alive because she never stopped fighting. And now you won't have to fight alone. Hours later, the storm clouds finally parted. Sunlight broke across Silver Creek. Lucas stood outside the hospital entrance with Noah beside him, wrapped in a heavy coat and holding Ranger's leash. Elena joined them. EPA team wants to meet you later. You're being credited as the primary whistleblower. Lucas shook his head. This wasn't about credit. I know, Elena said. That's why you deserve it. A transport van pulled into the lot. 2 nurses stepped out, followed by a gurney bearing Sadie Bennett. She was conscious now. Her eyes scanned until they landed on Noah. Mama, Noah cried, sprinting forward with Ranger bounding beside him. Sadie opened her arms weakly, tears spilling down her cheeks. You found him, she whispered to Lucas. Lucas shook his head. No, he found us. Sadie held her son, eyes drifting to Ranger. She reached down and laid her hand on the dog's head. You're safe now, Lucas said quietly. Sadie looked up. Because you stayed. Lucas didn't answer. He didn't need to. The sun rose fully then, warming the snow. A new day had begun in Silver Creek for the town, for Noah, for Sadie, for Lucas, and for a dog whose last howl would never again be one of warning, but of homecoming. And the quiet after the storm, we are reminded of something eternal. God does not always send angels with wings. Sometimes he sends them on 4 paws with gentle eyes and a silent promise to protect. In moments when the world feels cold and forgotten, he places people and animals in our path to remind us that no one is truly abandoned. If this story touched your heart, leave a comment of blessing for every child and animal in need. May God bless you and your family.